What if I told you that Michael Jordan is still winning games for the Chicago Bulls, even though he retired over 2 decades ago? No, I'm not talking about old highlight reels or nostalgic reruns. I'm talking about something far more powerful, something invisible, something that lives in the walls of the United Center, in the fabric of that iconic jersey, and in the minds of every single player who dares to wear number 23. I'm talking about legacy. You see, when a superstar retires, they don't really leave. Their spirit, their standards, their expectations, they become part of the team's DNA. And today, we're going deep into one of basketball's most fascinating and overlooked phenomena. How do player legacies shape NBA team culture? Why do some franchises feel different than others? And how are legends who haven't played in years still controlling the destiny of today's rosters? Let's go beyond the court. Before we dive into specific players and teams, we need to understand what culture actually means in the NBA. And no, I'm not talking about the corporate buzzword you hear in press conferences. I'm not talking about posters in the locker room with words like teamwork and commitment. I'm talking about something much deeper. Team culture is the invisible rule book. It's the unwritten code that tells players how to behave when nobody's watching. It's what happens in practice when the cameras are off. It's how veterans treat rookies. It's the standard of effort that's considered acceptable. Think about it like this. Every NBA team has the same basic rules. Same shot clock, same court dimensions, same number of players. But walk into the San Antonio Spurs facility and it feels completely different than walking into the Sacramento Kings facility. Why? Because culture is like a fingerprint. Every organization has a unique one, shaped by decades of history, decisions, and most importantly, the players who defined what that franchise stands for. The Miami Heat are known for their intense work ethic and physical conditioning. Players joke that you need to pass a fitness test just to survive training camp. That's culture. The Golden State Warriors are known for their joy and ball movement. Players smile, they dance, they celebrate each other. That's also culture. The Spurs are known for their quiet professionalism. No ego, no drama, just basketball. That's culture too. But here's the question that drives this entire video. Where does that culture come from? How does it get created? And more importantly, how does it survive across generations of players? The answer lies in legacy. Every franchise has what I call blueprint players. These are the legends who didn't just play for a team, they defined what that team means. They set the standard. They established the identity. And even after they're gone, their presence echoes through every practice, every game, and every decision the organization makes. Let's start with the most obvious example, Tim Duncan and the San Antonio Spurs. For 19 seasons, Tim Duncan was the face of the Spurs, but here's what made him special. It wasn't just his incredible basketball skills, it was how he played. It was who he was. Duncan never complained to referees. In an era of trash talk and chest pounding, he stayed quiet. He let his game speak. He showed up early, stayed late, and treated the 15th man on the roster with the same respect as the starting point guard. He was the ultimate teammate. And here's the thing, Duncan retired in 2016. But if you talk to current Spurs players, they'll tell you they still feel his presence. His jersey hangs in the rafters. His work ethic is referenced in meetings. Coaches still use his film to teach young players what it means to be a Spur. Tim Duncan built a blueprint, and everyone who comes after him is expected to follow it. Now let's go to Los Angeles. Kobe Bryant created something called the Mamba mentality. And whether you loved him or criticized him, you cannot deny this. Kobe established a standard of obsessive dedication that still defines what it means to be a Laker. The stories are legendary. Kobe would schedule workouts at 4 a.m. He would challenge teammates to one-on-one battles after practice. He demanded excellence from everyone around him, sometimes to the point of conflict. But that intensity became part of the Lakers' identity. When free agents consider signing with Los Angeles, they know what they're getting into. They know that wearing purple and gold comes with expectations. Championships aren't just hoped for, they're demanded. Kobe passed away in 2020, but his mentality lives on. Current Lakers talk about honoring his legacy. Young players study his footwork, his film study habits, his relentless competitive drive. He's still shaping that franchise from beyond the court. And we can't have this conversation without mentioning Boston. Larry Bird established a culture of toughness, basketball intelligence, and fierce pride in the Celtics organization. Bird played through injuries. He outworked more athletic opponents through sheer will and preparation. He talked trash, but always backed it up. Decades later, you can still see that DNA in how the Celtics build their roster. They value grit. They value high IQ players. They value competitors who would rather fight than quit. That's not coincidence. That's legacy.
So we've established that blueprint players
Create culture. But here's the next question. How does that culture survive when those players retire? After all, rosters change, players get traded, new faces come in every season. How does something as intangible as culture persist through all that turnover? The answer is the passing of the torch. Every great organization has what I call culture keepers. These are players, often veterans, whose primary job isn't just playing basketball. Their job is to teach, to enforce, to make sure the young players understand what it means to wear that jersey. The perfect example is Udonis Haslem in Miami. Haslem has been with the Heat since 2003. In recent years, his on-court contributions have been minimal. He barely plays. So why does the organization keep giving him contracts? Because Udonis Haslem is the culture. He's the one who pulls young players aside and explains the Heat way. He's the one who holds guys accountable when they're slacking in workouts. He's the living, breathing connection to the championship teams of the past. When Jimmy Butler joined Miami, it was Haslem who helped him understand what the Heat were all about. When young players complain about the conditioning program, it's Haslem who reminds them that this is how champions are built. He's the bridge between past and present. We see the same thing in Golden State with Draymond Green. Say what you want about Draymond's antics and technical fouls, that man is a culture keeper. He learned from the original Warriors championship core. He played alongside Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson during their dynasty run. And now, his role isn't just to play defense and facilitate the offense. His role is to make sure every new player understands the standard. The passing, the movement, the unselfishness, the competitive fire. That's the Warriors' way. And Draymond is its enforcer. But here's the scary part. What happens when there's no culture keeper? What happens when an organization fails to maintain that connection between generations? The culture dies. You see this with teams that undergo complete overhauls, trading away all their veterans and starting fresh with young players. Without someone to teach them the standards, without someone who lived through the glory days, that invisible rulebook disappears. And suddenly, a proud franchise becomes just another team. No identity, no standards, no culture. This is why smart organizations never underestimate the value of veterans, even ones who don't play much, because their real contribution isn't measured in statistics. It's measured in culture.
Now, I've been talking about legacy
as if it's always a positive thing. But I need to be honest with you. Sometimes legacy becomes a curse. Sometimes the ghosts of the past don't inspire, they haunt. Let's talk about the New York Knicks. The Knicks have championship banners from the 1970s. They have a legendary arena in Madison Square Garden. They have one of the most passionate fan bases in sports, and for decades, they've been desperately trying to recapture that past glory. Every move, every signing, every draft pick is evaluated through the lens of, will this bring us a championship? The pressure is immense. The expectations are unrealistic, and as a result, the organization has often made short-sighted decisions, trading away assets for quick fixes that never quite work out. The legacy of their championship past has created an impatience that makes sustained rebuilding almost impossible. The Chicago Bulls face a similar challenge. How do you follow Michael Jordan? How do you live up to the dynasty that won 6 championships and is widely considered the greatest team ever? The answer, for many years, was you don't. The Bulls struggled to establish a new identity after Jordan left. Every star who came through Chicago was compared to number 23. Every season that didn't end in a championship was considered a failure. The shadow of Jordan's legacy made it nearly impossible for the franchise to move forward. Players have talked about the pressure of playing in Chicago, the weight of those banners, the constant reminders that you're not as good as the guy who came before you. That's not inspiration, that's suffocation. The lesson here is important. Legacy can be a gift or a burden. The best organizations find ways to honor their past while still allowing the present to breathe. They use history as inspiration, not as a measuring stick that makes current players feel inadequate. It's a delicate balance, and not every franchise gets it right.
So what about today?
What about the players currently building legacies that will shape their franchises for decades to come? Stephen Curry has already transformed what it means to be a Golden State Warrior. The three-point revolution he led isn't just a playing style, it's now the Warriors' identity. Long after Curry retires, Golden State will be searching for the next player who can shoot the lights out and play with that same joy. Giannis Antetokounmpo is building something special in Milwaukee. In an era where superstars leave small markets for bigger cities, Giannis stayed. He committed. He brought a championship to a franchise that had been waiting for decades. That loyalty, that dedication to a community, that's becoming Milwaukee's identity. Luka Doncic in Dallas, Jason Tatum in Boston, Ja Morant in Memphis. These players aren't just playing for today. Every game, every practice, every interaction with teammates, they're writing the story of what their franchise will mean in the future. The blueprint players of 2040 are playing right now, and they probably don't even realize the cultural impact they're having. That's the beautiful thing about legacy. It's not something you can plan or manufacture. It happens naturally, through years of consistent behavior, through championship moments and heartbreaking losses, through the small daily choices that eventually become permanent. Today's superstars are haunting future rosters, whether they know it or not.
So what have we learned?
We've learned that NBA team culture isn't created by marketing departments or front office executives. It's created by players, by the legends who define what a franchise stands for. We've learned that culture is passed down through generations, carried by veterans who bridge the gap between past and present. We've learned that legacy can be both a blessing and a curse, inspiring greatness or trapping organizations in the shadow of history. And we've learned that right now, in this very moment, new legacies are being built. Championships are won in seasons, but legacies echo through decades. The players we watch today will shape the teams we watch tomorrow. And long after they've retired, their ghosts will walk those halls, set those standards, and remind every young player who puts on that jersey what it truly means. That's the power of legacy. That's what exists beyond the court. Now I want to hear from you. Which player's legacy do you feel most strongly in today's NBA? Is it the Mamba mentality in Los Angeles, The Duncan Way in San Antonio? Or something completely different? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this video made you think differently about basketball culture, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories behind the game. I'll see you in the next one.